American New Year, 7 days after the birth of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I heard the priestess make reference to the Orishas. We make reference to them as the Elohim. We say that Elohim created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. We make reference to them as being the 7 creative spirits who created. Allah made man, and Elohim's job was to create for Allah. Citizenship is very important for us as Moors. We're taught that, and we teach that in order for a person to be recognized by the government in which we live, as well as the nations of the earth, one must proclaim his nationality to the free national constitution in order to be recognized. Otherwise, you're considered an undesirable. It makes no difference whether we hold high offices, whether we have good jobs, whether we're self-employed, whether we're entertainers. Without proclaiming the nationality, a free national name. I'll give you an example. The families of nations, you have those who come to this country from Japan, you have those who come from England, Ireland, Scotland, France, and various countries throughout from our motherland, which is Africa. The term that we're known as today is African American, but according to the laws of naturalization and immigration, man gets his nationality from a geographical landmass that his forefathers inhabited or through bloodline. You have to choose, you have to trace yourself back to one country. There's no such thing as an African American, though this is the politically correct terminology that's being used this day. For example, you meet an individual who's from Nigeria, he's going to say, I'm Nigerian, or she's going to say, I'm Nigerian. And if they become citizens of the United States, if they want to hyphenate, they'll say, I'm an Nigerian American. But they'll never say that they are an African American. I've never seen a human being say, from Europe, say, I'm a European American. They'll usually choose one country from which their father or their mother bloodline came from, and they would adopt that as being who they are.
With your permission, I will talk in general terms about the culture and tradition that I practice. My name is Akosua Anum Yeboah, Akosua Amoa Anum Yeboah. And as Priest Bio said, your name means something. It's the same thing in a Conn culture. You know, you're given a name based on a number of things. Primarily, it's the day of the week that you were born on, so it's not very exotic. My name, Akosua, means girl born on Sunday. Boy born on Sunday would be Kwesi. So that's my first name. Amoa is sometimes it's what it reflects your mission. If you have we believe that when you're born, you have a mission that you're here to fulfill. And there's a lot of information about what's done in a family to ensure that a child is able to fulfill that mission. It's very difficult, and I think you've seen all of the panelists here struggling with how do you summarize in 10 minutes a culture and a tradition and a spiritual technology that, in our case, goes back tens of thousands of years. That is within cellular memory of the people who practice it. And so I'm looking forward to the questions that you'll ask, but I just at least want to give you something as a comparison. My name, Amoa, means gift of God. Anum means the number 5. When I went into training, I was the 5th priest in my line. And so Anum means the number 5. And Yeboah, my last name, refers to the region in Ghana. It refers to a river that is very helpful within the region of Ghana, where my ancestors come from. What we know that is when Nana Yao, the late Nana Yao Kaiden Zulu, initially practiced the Yoruba tradition. And when it was revealed to him that his ancestors came from Ghana, and indeed many of the Africans who were brought to America, to the North America, to the United States, came from the region that is now known as Ghana. It made sense to him, and it makes sense to us that if we practice a spirituality that is indigenous to us, it has a very powerful place in your psyche, in your ancestral memory. And so when you embrace that, it can do a lot for you to make sure that you do fulfill that mission. In fact, my family, many Africans in America will tell you, in the diaspora will tell you, oh, my grandmother used to do that. You might have heard certain rumors, or we call them old wives' tales or mythologies, like don't whistle inside, don't put your hat on the bed, don't put your pocketbook on the floor, it'll make your money. All of these things. And when you think back, your elderly aunt or your grandmother, your great-grandmother said these things. These all stem from proverbs out of African cultures. So the culture is called Akai. The religion is called Akom. In West Africa, you don't see, as the minister was saying, you can have an Irish American, an Italian American, a French, you can have people. It's same with religion. In Catholicism, you can have Italian Catholics, you can have an Irish Catholic, you can have French Catholic, but you can't have an Akan you can't separate the religion from the culture in many African traditions. So the religion, though, because people want to know what it is, it's called Akom. What I will do is I'll tell you what my story was, what brought me to this. As I said, in my family, I know that many people in my family, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, all practiced this spirituality, this spiritual technology, but if you ask them, they would say, oh, we're Christian, we're Methodist, we're this, we're that. But I think the truth is, whenever Africans practice any spirituality, we practice it the way Africans do. You'll hear in Christian churches, it's called getting happy, or getting the spirit, and that is nothing more than what we know to be possession of deities. That when you're calling them, they come, and so they do something. So we practice any religion the way that is in our blood to practice. So when I was very aware that in my family we did this thing that we didn't talk about, but on the surface we were Christians. So it seemed to me, and I don't know why I was different in my family than most other people, but it seemed to me, if this is the thing that we do that we find the most powerful, why do we not embrace it? Why do we not? Why do we keep it a secret? And so I am the first person in my family to openly practice this spiritual technology. And what's interesting is, and you'll ask them, they won't admit it, but everyone in my family who knows me to be doing this, at one point or another, they have come to me and they've said, Akosua, come here. Right. I have a problem. Right. Can you talk to you? And your people talk to my people to help me with this problem. And so it's just something that it's not for everyone. I won't sit here and tell you it's for everyone. But when it's for you, you know it. You feel it. Your spirit will tell you that there's more for you than. And I think probably that this is a story that we all would have. Something in our spirit told us this is what we need to do.